Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I want to be talking about The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, episodes 9 and 10. We're almost at the end of this show, and these two episodes kick off the longest arc in the show so far, and it continues through both of these episodes and into the next couple, because episode 10 ends on a cliffhanger. So, episode 9 starts off pretty pleasant. Our main cast is going to like this park where they have a event where someone throws a bouquet and whoever catches it gets their photo taken like in a wedding dress, right? So like couples go there and they do the bouquet toss, they catch it, and then the boyfriend and girlfriend, they get their pictures taken in like a suit and a dress. Fun. Well, Hakari has brought everyone there for the purpose of winning and getting her chance to wear that dress and get a picture with Rentaro. And so the first half of this episode is all about this bouquet toss thing, which, I'm going to be honest, I've read the manga. I think I've read this chapter, it would be 2 times now. I didn't remember this at all. It's whatever, the vice principal is there, she tosses the bouquet into almost orbit. We have a rival group competing for the bouquet. I forget what they're called, but they're like a biker gang, and the main girl, like the gorilla biker gang or something like that, and the big boss is a large woman that looks kind of like a gorilla, and she is there trying to win so she can get a picture of herself and her like tiny her tiny boyfriend with like glasses and looks very like shy and timid. Get a photo of them together in these dresses. So there are rivals, and she's got like this whole gang of like henchmen with her, right? So sort of our group versus them, and our group finally gets a name, which I remember the name, the Rentaro family. Very nice, and everybody's excited that they're being like called a family. That's cool. I don't know if I had this thought when I had read the manga chapter before. Rentaro is his given name. His family name is Aijo. So, like, it's just kind of weird. The Rentaro family, very odd choice. But, anyway. So, Rentaro family versus the gorilla biker gang. The rules are basically you can't attack or, like, interfere with the opponents. So, the gorilla biker gang, they get around this by attacking each other. So, the boss just grabs one of her henchmen and throws them towards other competitors, and it's not against the rules because she's not attacking them, she's attacking her own people. And then Karane, the strongest of the group, decides, alright, I can play like that too, I'm now a member of the gorilla gang, and then fights the boss because now it's not against the rules because she's a member. And then eventually we win. Some silly stuff going on with Shizuka where she sits out because she's small and frail, and then eventually ends up in the sky and grabs the bouquet. Just a silly little game, this first half of the episode. And then after they win, they're deciding who gets the dress. And again, this was all Hakari's plan, so she has also got a plan on how to be the one from the group to win, where they're going to draw straws, basically, where, like, they're doing like King's Game thing, where they've got the chopsticks and one of them is marked. And Hakari's plan is, she's got the group of sticks, right? One of them's marked. She has put like a little nick in the top, so she knows which one it is. And the plan is, alright, she's going to ask Nano first to draw her straw, because it would be weird if Hakari picked first, since she's holding them. And so she's going to position the one that's the winner closest to Hakari herself, because she thinks Nano, with her desire to always be as efficient as possible, is going to pick the nearest one. And then she gets thrown for a loop when Nano suggests that everybody should just draw at once. That's going to save more time. And through luck, Hakari still wins. And so they go to do the photo. Hakari requests that all the other girls are also a part of the photo, even though it's her in the dress, Rentaro in the like tuxedo, and then all the girls are just in their regular clothes. And it's a nice moment, they get a nice photo. And then Hikari asks Rentaro to break up with her. And that's the first half of episode 9. Second half is Rentaro trying to figure out what's going on. He tries to ask Hikari, but she took off right away after the photo. He eventually goes to her house, which is a mansion with a gate and guards, and tries to get her attention. He eventually sees her in a window where she calls down to him through a landline phone because her cell phone has been taken away. And Hikari informs Rentaro that she is going to be transferring schools. Her mother found out that she was dating a boy with 5 girlfriends and was not happy about it, which I want to say fair. That's entirely reasonable, though she does get very unreasonable as we go on. But not wanting your daughter to date a guy with 5 girlfriends, perfectly reasonable. And then Hikari gets caught with the phone, and we hear her mother talk to Rentaro, basically saying to leave her alone, and then we hang up. And so Rentaro cannot have this. He's said over and over in this show, he's going to do whatever he can to make these girls happy. So he calls a meeting of the rest of the girls, and he basically says his plan is, I'm going to go break Hikari out. We're going to run away. We're going to leave you here, the rest of you, but one day we'll come back for you. And the girls are not really having it. Karani in particular is not having it and says, no, that's stupid. You expect us to just believe you'll come back. We'll all run away together. So let's go save Hikari. And that's episode 9. Episode 10 is the break-in, where they get to the mansion and they're just trying to sneak into Hikari's house and get her out. And throughout this, it's very much building up on, alright, Rentaro loves them and cares about them, but they also love and care about each other, right? Rentaro family, which we just coined last episode, it gets brought up again in this episode. It's real. They are a family. So everybody wants to help, and throughout this little break-in, everybody gets, a little chance to shine and make sacrifices as we go. The first one to really help out is Nano, who, after dealing with Hikari's pet cat, who has screws around with them throughout this whole episode, realizes that, hey, if they have a cat, they probably have a little pet door. All right, here's the pet door. How do we unlock it? And so she grabs a handful of rocks and flicks them into the lock to turn it. And there's even a joke about how ridiculous that is. She's you can't be human to do that. You're an android. And, what is the sacrifice she made? She just hurt her finger. It's not a big sacrifice, but she hurt herself, right? Just to get this done. Next up to help us is Shizuka. They break into the house and they see a giant pet dog, which, I'm going to be honest, dog looks hideous in a lot of angles in this episode. It is ugly. But everybody flees when they see the guard dog, except Shizuka, who freezes in fear. And they sort of luck out because Shizuka is small and cute, and the dog doesn't see her as a threat and just sort of sits next to her and licks her. But nobody else wants to go in because it's a giant guard dog. But Kusuri is on the case. She pulls out a drug from her pocket, rolls the vial to Shizuka, and it is a sleeping drug. But they're unable to communicate how to use it, so Shizuka just drinks the sleeping drug and falls asleep. But luckily, the dog licks her lips, gets some of the potion in his mouth, and he's also asleep. So there we go. Problem solved. Shizuka drinks an antidote, and they go on to the next step. And again, Shizuka didn't make a huge sacrifice there, but she was terrified, and she sort of toughened up, and it's alright, I can't just be oh yeah, no, she did. She was going to sacrifice her life. She was going to... I forgot about that. That was a joke where the dog was coming at her and she just sort of laid down ready to die. So in her mind, she made a big sacrifice, but in reality, nothing really happened. But then we go on to our next terrible task that they're going to have to overcome, a hallway where there's actually laser sensors all over the place. And they have to find a way to get around that. And so, lucky for them, Kusuri has eye drops that let you see lasers. But they also make you completely blind, and you can only see the lasers, but hey, it helps. And Kusuri's big, like, sacrifice for this is, and it was even mentioned in an episode, like, what it would have been last video that I made the video on, so episodes 8, 7, where Kusuri talked about she was making something to submit to some sort of lab. And it was these eye drops, and so she sacrificed that to help Hikari. Isn't that great? Yes, it is, actually. Again, just continuing to highlight how all the characters in the Rentaro family care about each other just as much as they care about Rentaro, and Rentaro cares about them, right? And so our final task is there's lasers everywhere. How do we get over this? They consider, like, you know, the thing where you're in a tight space and you put your arms up on the wall to sort of hold yourself, and you, like, use your feet to sort of slowly climb up, like Spider-Man. The walls are too far apart, but if we had two people tied together, well, then it can work. But they're all girls. They're not strong enough for this. How is that going to work? Lucky for them, they have Karane, who has, like, ridiculous superhuman strength. And so Rentaro and Karane get tied together. They climb over the lasers, and eventually they get to Hikari. When they find her, an alarm goes off and they're immediately caught, and they come face to face with Hikari's mother, Hahari. We get a sad little backstory about how when she was a teenager she was in love with a boy that was dying, and so she had herself artificially impregnated to have his child. Hahari's whole backstory is ridiculous. And then Rentaro, who is moved by such great love, is crying, and the eye drops wear off, and he can finally see, and he finally comes face to face with Hahari, and they feel a jolt of lightning run through their body. They're soulmates, and instantly Hahari caves in and just asks Rentaro to be her boyfriend. And that's the end of episode 10. Honestly, a really great episode. I don't think I did a good job sort of explaining it. Like, there's a lot of little, like, good comedy moments in this, but also, again, each character sort of getting something to do and really building up how all the characters are a family, which is something that I like in harem stuff. Like, I like harem endings. I like all the characters getting a happy ending. So the harem being a big family is something I enjoy, and they do a really good job of it in this, and showing, like, all right, the girls are important to each other as well, and not just romance partners for the main character. They care about each other. And I don't know if I mentioned this in another video, but I'll mention it here because it's kind of on topic. And I don't know if this ever happens, but I hope at some point in the manga, or maybe they do those light novel spin-offs sometimes, give the girls just, like, moments to do things themselves without Rentaro. That would be kind of nice. I get that this is a silly comedy with a lot of characters they're going to have to introduce eventually, so they probably don't have time for that, so doing it in, like, a spin-off would be good. But just some time for the character, like the girls, to be on their own without Rentaro would be cool. But yeah, 2 good episodes. This arc is fun, not quite finished yet. And it's such a silly cliffhanger. Like, Hahari, throughout this episode, like, every time we see her is just sort of, like, strict and looks cold, and as soon as her and Rentaro, like, see each other, she just completely changes, and it was really funny. And also, it really highlights how the whole soulmate thing works, and, like, how precise it means to, like, you know, when, like, how precise you have to be about seeing each other, where you have to meet each other's eyes, but, like, they were looking at each other, but Rentaro just couldn't see in that moment. So, like, it wasn't until Hahari and Rentaro could actually see each other that it clicked. So that's interesting, and we'll see if anything comes of that later. But yeah, that's episodes 9 and 10. We're right at the finish line of this show. 2 more episodes left. and I'm excited to watch them and talk about them. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.